Puppies. All right. That's my thing. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Samadhi Studios Podcast. I am here with Danni out at their family's property out in Gympie, Temaree to be exact. Danni, give yourself a bit of an introduction about yourself and what we're here for.
I'm Danni. I'm 28. I'm actually the same age as Sam.
Same vintage.
Yeah, we went to school together. I am here today because I had a baby about 18, 19 months ago, and I suffered some postnatal depression and come a little bit out of that now, and I just like to raise a little bit of awareness and talk about it a little bit. I'm still learning about it, so
I think it's something that you're probably gonna you'll constantly just be learning, no matter how long it goes for, because
absolutely.
The research I don't think will ever be fully complete, and as you, I guess, probably talk to more people who have gone through it and everything like that, it'll broaden your horizons on it. So.
And I think it's just so different for everyone, and everyone compares themselves to other people, so you think that, oh, that's not me, like I'm different to that. So it's hard to pick up sometimes. Yeah,
that's right. Just fair warning, guys, we are out on a property, so we do have dogs around us. So there's one panting down the bottom underneath us, and the one's fighting in the background, crickets in the background. It's just some beautiful ambient noise.
Welcome to the farm.
Yeah. All right, so to kick things off, I guess, what was, your experience and what triggered your thoughts into this? And
so looking back now, I consider myself quite lucky because my sister, Kelly, fell pregnant at the same time as me. So I think we had babies probably about 2 weeks apart. She had a little girl, I had a little boy. And I think from birth onwards, just things were different, and I just wasn't what I expected to be, I think. You just have this expectation being a new mum, and I had a pretty good pregnancy. Kelly had a shocking one. She was just unwell all the time. But I think that because I had such an easy pregnancy, and I consider myself a laid-back person that, I don't know, just rolled into it like it was just natural.
Super relaxed, yeah.
I'm a nurse, so I thought, I'll be right. I can prepare for the worst. But anyway, once we had our babies, I kind of went on a different, pathway of feelings.
Yeah.
Where I could see she was.
I'm just gonna go get rid of that toy from the dogs.
Completely different.
Keep talking.
So anyway, she was still, we compared feelings and stuff. We're very, very close. We live in the same town. We, spent nearly every day together. So I think that was really good. But, she could see straight away that I was just different.
Yeah.
Mum noticed I was different, and my sister-in-law noticed I was different, and they're the three people that are probably closest to me. I definitely knew I was different. Mark, my husband, probably knew that as well, but he's a bloke, so he's probably just completely blasé to the whole thing. And he's pretty laid back, this guy. He's not worried about too much.
Well, he needs to be, because he's a Tiger supporter, so,
True, he's from New South Wales, you can't trust them.
No.
Anyway, so that from there, but I was in denial for a while. I was like, I'll be right, I've got this, that's just not me. I'm not that kind of person. And when I say that, I've never struggled before. I've never had that feeling before. So I was like, it's just, some post-baby blues or something, or I don't know, maybe I'm not fit to be a mother or something yet, that life adjustment thing. But I think that's what kind of, I put it off for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firstly, was it planned for you and Kel to have babies at the same time? That's been a question in my mind for a bloody while. Heaps
of people ask us this. Like, oh my God, did you plan that? I was like, no, we didn't have a big family orgy. Absolutely not. It was really funny. We all kind of got married, my brother, not all of us together. My brother got married 1 year, my sister the year after, and me the year after. So we're pretty much in consecutive with that. And then I don't know, we were just kind of discussing it one day. We're like, we're kind of trying. And my sister's like, we're not, but we are. And so anyway, it just ended up, it was funny. I was at her house I was like, I think I'm pregnant. I did this pregnancy test after late at work. Like, I got home at 11:30 at night, and I just did one. I do not know why. And it was positive. And I went to bed. Like, you think that you'd be like, oh, my God. I literally was like, nah. I woke Mark up, and I was like, oi, babe, this is positive. And he goes, what's that mean? Like, what's the 2 lines then? And I was like, I think it's positive. And he goes, oh, yeah. He went back to sleep, and I was like, okay.
Just anyway. A very good example of how laid back these guys are, just FYI.
So, yeah, anyway, and then I told Kelly, and I did like 400 pregnancy tests the next day, and literally once I confirmed it, she was like, I think I'm pregnant, like, the next couple of days. So we drew 3 days apart.
That's hilarious.
It just happened that way.
Just chance.
It was very lucky. It's very good.
It's funny to see because I know how close you guys are and everything like that. So so I'm glad we put the rumour to rest.
I know.
For the people listening at home,
we're not that weird.
Not that weird. Still weird.
We're
just
still
not that
weird, but we're just not that weird. Thank goodness.
I don't think even if you planned it, I don't think you could sort of nail it.
Exactly.
I
don't. Yeah, absolutely not.
We don't have that sort of control over our bodies.
No.
So
and it was funny, very funny. And you think at the time when we were pregnant and hormonal, like, we probably got into more fights than normal.
Yeah.
And we don't fight that often, but yeah. And then once we had these babies, I was like, oh, this is sweet. Like, it was so good. So yeah, it was very handy.
It, I guess probably would have been easier for you having your sister she had a baby and all that sort of stuff, so it would have helped with support and all that sort of shit. And it might have even, like, you might have been judging yourself on her and everything like that, so it would have been difficult.
Yeah, it's quite hard to explain, like, so some people would think, I guess, and some people would tell me, oh, you must compare yourself to her, or she must compare herself to her. So we literally have opposite babies. Yes, they're boy and girl, but Coops, like my little boy, is just like so just relaxed and blasé, and I'll just do what I want, and, you know, just took like 12 months to even start crawling. You know, he's running around now, and Lexi, Kelly's little girl, is just 100 mile an hour. Just no fear, hilarious, like, got such an attitude, like, but it's not something they go, oh, like, Lexi's doing that and Cooper's not. It's just like, I'm not worried, and, like, they're just so different. And I guess, yeah, you would expect a bit of comparison like that.
Yeah.
But Shadow, you can't be involved. That's my dog. Yeah, you just think that, I guess, because I just know Kelly so well, and I'm really, really lucky that we are so close, that I just know that, I guess I'm not worried about milestones and stuff and comparing that way, but, like, I know that they're loved by mum and dad, and, like, equally, and
they're
I
the
feel
first
like,
grandbabies, of course they are.
They're pretty special.
They'd be obsessed over.
But yeah, like, I don't compare him that way. But people, you know, it's a thing. Like, but it was good when we had them. Like, Cooper had a neck problem, you know, coming out via cesarean or whatever. He wasn't holding his neck properly, and that was good because I could see, like, oh, Lexi's holding her head up. Why is Cooper, you know, favouring one side?
Yeah.
And so yeah, there was a few things that I was like, this is so good.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
handy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely when your sister, it's handy to having someone so close to you
absolutely.
Go through the same sort
and
of...
when you can, like, be at your worst and go, you know, F this, I'm buggered.
Yeah.
And she feels the same. You can just bitch for a little bit about everything and be like, okay, we're still good mothers. Yeah, we'll be right. We got this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's a big thing, like, a big difference. Like, if you sort of bitching to me about, you know, that your child, because I don't have any children of my own, except for my housemates. That's the difference between, like, empathy and sympathy. Like, she understands what you're going through exactly. So
it is a funny thing being a mum. Like, it is a new understanding of things. You know what, like, you understand when people don't get it, that you've got a kid and you can't go out or you can't do a few things, and they're like, oh, just drop them off with your parents or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but, like, I do that a bit for work. Like, I can't just do it for my social life as well. You can, and it's great, but it's that guilt, that mum guilt. It's your baby, you know. So yeah, it's different. You have this new understanding. So I think, and, like, when all this happened and when I felt at my worst and I was in denial, And I was just like, no, I'm right, I'm good. Like, I had a pretty good poker face in public. Like, I could see you and talk to you like normal. But Kelly just knew. And she was really good about it. Like, I don't know, I felt like people, like Kelly and Lee especially, and Mum, they had an understanding of it more than I did. And, like, they weren't pushing me, but they were like, they understood more than I thought they would, or that I even did in general. Like, I guess it's that different kind of, I was in a different mindset, I think, and I thought that no one would understand it, and I didn't really have a reason for feeling it, so I thought just kind of get over it.
So if you were, for me, I'm completely blasé with the whole thing, you know, as far as, you know, I haven't gone through a pregnancy myself, you know, so I don't understand the hormones. Yeah, thankfully, it's, you know. So, but for those who don't really understand, like, how would you, I guess, describe postnatal depression to anybody who doesn't really?
So I don't know how I would explain it, because I feel like I'll explain to you how I felt.
I was going to say, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, but I think everyone feels different, and there's obviously the severe end of the scale. You can get postnatal psychosis versus, you know, where you're hallucinating and things, versus just a mild case of the baby blues kind of thing. Yeah. So for me, I didn't really know what to call it. I guess I called it myself postnatal depression, and after 8 months I saw a GP and went, I think that's me. And he agreed, just through me talking to him. Yeah. But so the feeling was, it was weird, it was conflicting, and I think this is why it took me so long to kind of understand what the heck was happening. So being in the medical industry, I was like, yeah, I know what that is, and it's, you know, due to a chemical change in your brain. It's not your fault, there's nothing you can do about it, you know, just random people get it. But when it happens, you're like, so obviously I was a little bit naive, I would say the word was, where I was like, oh no, that's just not my personality. You know, that's not me. I wouldn't suffer. It's so silly. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I would call it naive and young. So, so I had what I now look back on as quite a bit of a traumatic birth. And I think that's probably what triggered it. It was like a 3-day long thing ending in a cesarean. Then I just didn't kind of get up again. Like, you would just think that, you know, like me and Kelly both breastfed, and, you know, everyone explains to you what a great bonding experience it is. It was not. I hated it, and I was like, it's a job to me. I was like, okay, feed, get off. Like, I don't know if that's just my personality or what. Still obviously loved him a lot, but I just thought breastfeeding was a job. It was definitely not a bonding thing. And I don't know, I was angry. I was so angry. I was angry at Mark all the time. I was probably angry at myself for just not getting back to normal. Like, I couldn't understand what the heck was going on. Like, I was tired probably too. Like, man, he was awake every 2 hours, and that sleep deprivation thing is not okay with me. I'm a shift worker, but I can still sleep well. So I think that was a massive trigger. I think Mark living his normal, relaxed life was also like, I don't know if I was jealous. I don't know if you'd call it jealousy. It was like, that's the life we lived before. Yeah. Not that he was going out or anything, but he was just not worried about anything, and he was relaxed and come home and have a few beers, and he would definitely help me. Like, he was heaps of help, but he was just like, you know, whatever. Just, I don't know. And I was just like, why? So I guess, that was a misunderstanding, and I feel like that was probably the biggest, not regret, but a sore point for me was, like, how much I took it out on him. He's probably, like, the closest, you know, person to me. Like,
well, you'd hope he was, because he's your husband, so.
Besides my sister, like, I do tell her a lot as well, but he was, you know, that person, and he didn't understand, and I don't blame him for that, but he was just like, what the heck's your problem, love?
Yeah.
Like, but still bounced back the next day, even though I would, just take everything out on him. So I feel really grateful now that it was hard. It was very hard work to kind of get back to normal. Like, once I realised what was happening and I tried to explain it to him, and he was then like, oh, okay, like, let me try and get my head around it too, because he didn't understand. So anyway, they're the feelings. I was angry at him. I was angry at myself. I was very, very, I would say, depressed. I was just like, we have a low mood and
super lethargic.
Don't want to do anything, and you're like, don't want people to come over because you're like, I can't clean my house. I like a clean house.
That's why we're out here at Mum's house.
Yeah, you can't come into my house. I've been working all week. So anyway, but so it's a whole it's a mixed bag of feelings, and that's why it's a little bit confusing, because like one day you'll be like, oh no, like I'm feeling good today, like I must be fine, so just get over it and move on. And the biggest thing was, I hope I'm not rambling here. The biggest thing was like you should be fine. You've got a healthy baby and you're healthy, so like stop whinging. So that's what I felt.
Your perception of it is like...
Yeah, so like comparing yourself to other people. Oh, Danni, people that have had worse pregnancies and worse births and that. So like you should be fine because you're lucky. You've got a healthy baby, and you've got this amazing husband who supports you. My brother and sister, and their family, whatever, love him. Helpful. Mum and Dad are absolutely ridiculously helpful and obsessed with both of them. Like, it's so great, but they spoil us as well. So, like, I had all this family support that they tell you, to help, and I had it all. But I was like, well, I'm still not okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's conflicting. So you think, why are you feeling like this when everything's fine?
I think that's like just it's really a generic issue with mental health in general. Like, everyone just seems to think, like, especially with depression, I've battled anxiety and depression, like nearly killed myself. Like, it's a difficult thing for you to go through, and it's a fucking roller coaster. Like you said, one day you wake up and you're all sweet and dandy, the next day you're just feeling like a bag of shit, like, so and I think it's just people's perception of everything, and the fact that we do base our life and look at our life and say, well, somebody's got it worse and all that sort of shit. Like,
it is a massive thing in anything in life to compare yourself with others. So, just quickly, I was reading this really amazing book. I have not finished reading it. I've only read a couple of chapters, called How to Heal from a Bad Birth.
Yeah.
And just like everything from the very first word to like, the end of the second chapter I was just like light bulb moment, because it just like it hit me, like we compare ourselves to everyone and everything, and they just explained to me, like made my light bulb moment of, well, it's not actually you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, because what is a trauma for you or something for is not for them. Like, just because, for example, in like a PTSD from birth, which is probably what I had as well, which triggered everything else, is more I felt alone and vulnerable and scared during my birth. So that in itself was traumatic for me, and it obviously declined from there. So like, just because that's probably not traumatic for someone else, or they had a different trauma, I shouldn't compare myself to their trauma because they had something different. And that's how you feel. That's exactly.
I was having a conversation with this today, actually, about a bloke, and he's battled depression and stuff like that, and he was talking about. We're talking about pretty much this exact same thing, and we just basically come to a mutual agreement to say that everybody goes through shit. It's just we all develop a resilience to our own levels of shit. Like, so for me to say, the stuff that I've gone through, I have had open heart surgery. But he'd given birth to a child. Like, it's just two very different situations, but two very traumatic things. But those are very major things. But for people, they go through a lot of shit that we don't realise. But then we compare ourselves to their lives and, you know, we just don't know the hurdles. But then someone who has had a perfect upbringing and had a perfect life, and then all of a sudden a small little thing that happens to them is a huge, it's, you know, a mountain out of a molehill. But relative to that person, that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, it's a massive trauma to someone that hasn't had one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. Like, I guess I am really lucky. Like, I have had a good upbringing, and, you know, I've had a few grandparents die and things, but I haven't had, like, a massive trauma in my life, which, touch wood, is, like, great. Until, like, I consider my birth a big traumatic experience for me. So,
well, it's probably also, like, you know, the fact that you went through a bloody 3-day birth, like, that's something, you know, because you go in there with a perception and say this might be over in a few hours and all that sort of stuff. Like, you know, if everything went to plan, then sweet, in and out. You know, that's sort of the idea of the preconceived idea that you have of birth. But then when you're in there for 3 days, and obviously there's some messed up shit that happens to make it go for that sort of time, and then have an emergency cesarean and that sort of stuff. Like, it's
yeah, absolutely. And I think with, like, no sleep and, like, so many things too, I was induced to bring me on to have this baby. Then he became distressed, and then I had this weird feeling that, like, because he went into distress, so they were really quite concerned about him. I could have lost him, and that went through my head, and I was like, whoa, I did not come in here expecting to not go out with the baby. So that obviously triggered a few things, and he was actually quite lucky to come out the way he did. So he had to come out cesarean. If he came naturally, we probably wouldn't have him. But that's something that I don't like to think about. I
don't think anybody wants to think about losing a child.
Absolutely. And I guess that didn't cross my mind either. And I have probably more anxiety now. I don't think I've suffered anxiety prior to this, but I do notice that sometimes I do kind of get that anxious feeling that I have to be like, okay, if you start thinking about this too much, like, you're going, you know,
the
you're
voices in your head.
Like, you just got to go, okay, breathe, just breathe, like, it's fine. Like, I have definitely come a long way. I think with PND, it's lucky in a way. It's like a cloak, someone explained to me, where it can be lifted off. It's not like other depression states. PND can come, like, it definitely has scars, like, it lasts forever. But I think there is a point with your normal, some cases of PND, if it's just mild, you can come out of it as your baby gets older and life gets a little bit easier. But as I said before, I think probably a bit of, like, the post-traumatic stress kind of triggered everything, and it literally has scarred me. Like, I don't still to this day want to go back and have another baby, because I'm still not quite there. I want to be, and I will be. Like, I definitely want another baby, but I can't quite, you know, make that decision and willingly go there. I just get really, no thank you.
No, I think, like, you know, anybody wouldn't judge you for that. Like, you know, it's such a traumatic experience.
It's like choosing to do all that again, and I would never, ever want to go through that again if I could help it. Yeah, that's
definitely a difficult situation, and, you know, with my own battles of depression and anxiety, like, it's something that you just wouldn't wish upon anybody.
You wouldn't wish to go back to your worst time.
If I had the option of going back through heart surgery, I would definitely say no to that. But it did save my life, so maybe I probably would, you know. Anyway,
I know, that's why you want to, if you had to do it again, you'd be like, okay, what can I do to make prepared. This okay? So that's what I guess I'm trying to do now. I think this book will be really good for me. As I said, I have not finished it, but just, man, these first 2 chapters, I was like, oh, Jesus, this is me.
It's funny because, we've been planning this for a little while, and just because life's crazy and whatever else that we
some
haven't...
shift worker.
Yeah, and I'm just shit.
Christmas.
But we've been talking about it for a while, and and then I told you to write everything down, which I'm glad you brought all your notes down too.
Thank you.
But we were speaking about it, and then you just said, I've been reading this book, and it's taught me so many things. Like so far, I know you might not be finished it yet, but what have you learnt, I guess, from that book that's probably been is there's that aha moment, you're like, holy shit, and it's just life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, do you know what, actually, my light bulb moment was weird. So I was doing night shift, and I finished at 7:15 in the morning, and Mum had Cooper, so she was having him for the day, and I just had to go home and go to bed. And 2 colleagues of mine who aren't my friends, they are, but they're not people that I hang out with. They're just, nice colleagues of mine, older women, said, oh, Danni, we're going to go to breakfast. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm still feel awake. Usually by that time, I'm like, no, thank you, I'm going to bed. Come to breakfast. So I went to breakfast, and, we were just talking about, nursing silly stuff. And then, I just explained this. I don't know how it came up or why. I have not spoken about my birth story for a long time, mainly because it's a very sore point, and it makes me really upset when I talk about it. But I did talk about it, and I went from start to finish, and it was to 2 nurses, so they kind of understood that we understood the medical jargon in between, and what was so scary about it, plus all my feelings. I obviously cried my eyes out, and I was like, oh, this is embarrassing. We're at breakfast. I don't even know these women. I just had this massive light bulb moment, and they were like, wow, that's so traumatic. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, it was traumatic. But literally, and this was a month ago, and literally just before that, and I came home and I rang Mum. I went to her work, actually. She works down the street, and I went to her work straight after breakfast. I was like, oh my God. I said, Mum, my birth was traumatic. And she's like, I know that. I know that, doll. It was really bad and it was rough. And I was like, yes, but all this time I'm thinking, why am I suffering with postnatal depression? Why me? I thought it was, postnatal depression is random. I thought it must just be, my personality or something that happened to me. But I didn't understand why it happened to me, because I thought everything was travelling so well. And now I realise that from telling my birth story for the first time in so long with a clearer picture to other people, I was literally it was traumatic. It was horrible for me. So I thought that's why me, because it wasn't a good experience. And Kelly did have she was in pain. She had a very long labour, but she did have a lovely natural birth, which is, things she aimed for happened, and she was so happy with herself. And I think from this book, I've learnt that she did a hypnobirthing course, so it just teaches you to be self-empowered and stuff. And I would recommend that anything, and I'll definitely be doing that, because I think it helped her, and I think me just going in yeah, she'll be right. Just 100 mile an hour. I was like, I think that helps. So I think being prepared. So in this book, back to the book, it was more about if you're feeling, empowered and satisfied and, still scared, but you're in control and you know what's happening, and you can ask questions. If you feel like you can ask questions, then you have the birth that, it can go wrong, but you know what's happening and you're aware and you feel safe. Then you come out of birth, and post-birth is a lot better, and you have that positive experience post-birth than when you have this vulnerable, scared, anxious feeling. I was so scared. I didn't know what was going on. I'm a nurse, but I'm not a midwife, and that is a whole different field of,
Shout out to all your midwives listening at home.
They are amazing. But still, like, it was that scary that I think, and then this book explains that if you're that scared, you suffer then after birth because you're not on top of it. You then feel like you failed, and then I had difficult breastfeeding, so I thought, and then I had, massive abdominal surgery, so I couldn't get up and change his nappy. So Mark was doing all that, and I didn't have milk straight away because he was brought on early, and I was like, nothing that I'm doing is right. So I think started it. I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't do it. I wasn't a good mother. I was, but you can't. I wasn't feeding him properly, or I wasn't able to get up straight away and help him. And obviously it's just a whole new experience. You're like, oh Jesus, I'm in charge of this tiny little thing,
I struggle to look after myself, let alone another bloody child.
Yeah, so I think it's just a combination. So yes, I haven't read all the book, but it felt like I'd learnt so much straight away from that specific jargon. I can't explain the words, but they explain it really, really well. And also that you don't have to have like a, massive bleeds and a preemie baby and surgery or things to make your birth traumatic. Yep. It's just how you feel. Like if you're scared and anxious and unprepared, well, not unprepared even, just, if that's the feelings you're having, then, they're going to last.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if I go back, I'd definitely do what Kelly did. Kel's great. She's aware of all this stuff more than I was, so she was very prepared. And she told me to do it, and I was like, I'll be right.
It's funny because, she's a hairdresser and you're an emergency department nurse, so if you think that anybody would be across this sort of shit, it would be you, but...
She's so good. She's so aware that she's knew straight away. She's helping me straight away, and I was like, nah, I'll be right. Don't worry about me.
Shout out to you, Kel. She got a bit upset that we weren't getting her on the podcast.
Yeah, she wanted to be on the podcast today. So I said, you'll be right. And she's like, I can help. I'm like, yeah, I know. So she has. She's definitely.
Could you imagine her being on the podcast? She'd bloody take over. We wouldn't get a word in.
Yeah, she'll give her.
No. But it's, you spoke a lot about trauma and everything like that. And trauma is a big thing that I've been, processing in my own brain for a number of different reasons recently. But I was doing some reading on it, and it's amazing how much trauma actually changes us, not just mentally, because, you've got those voices in your head that will fuck you up. But trauma actually changes the way that your brain will fire. They can actually pick up on a brain scan how trauma will actually change the way that your brain is communicating with itself. So it's definitely something that I think is overlooked, and post-traumatic stress is 100% a legitimate thing. So it's not something to be just put in the back corner and saying it's not going to happen to me or anything like that. It's very, very fucking real.
So it was funny when I rang my husband to tell him, I was like, oh, babe, I've got PTSD. No, but in a lie, I was I literally have had a light bulb, and I need to tell you, listen to me. He's at work. He's in the army. He's at work. And I'm like, if you went to war and something bad happened to you, and he's like, yeah, I understand. Because I thought I'd sound like a silly person to an army person saying that. Obviously, I'm not naive that way. I'm just saying it did sound funny when I was telling someone that's
ironic,
a soldier.
Right?
Yes, ironic. That's the word. And he was like, yeah, I completely understand. He does not have PTSD, but he understood what I was saying and where I was coming from. He's like, it definitely makes sense to him. Yeah.
So I guess going through this, how did you find the medical system with support and everything like that as far as this sort of stuff was concerned? Where did you find the most help?
Myself.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I went to my GP. I went to my GP because I wanted options.
Yeah.
I kind of went, I know what's happening to me. I was still scared. I guess being a nurse, I don't know why. I know it sounds silly, but I still didn't want to tell anyone.
Yeah.
I guess I was still in the middle of it, and I was like, in that. Now it's funny, I remember thinking things that I think now and go, oh my God, why would you think that? Like, but at the time I was like, well, no one I know is going through this. I'm the only one. Whereas, like, I have been open about it, and like so many people have told me, oh my God, that happened to me. And I was like, I know all you women and none of you told me, or like none, I was not aware. So it was really nice to hear back from them. But medically, I went to see my GP. You know, he's just a regular GP. He's a male. He was really good. He was good. He was great. As in, like, he was like, oh, okay, I completely understand. I said, I want options. He's like, he recommended medication. And I was like, well, I don't think I need the medication. Not because of stigma or anything like that. I just thought that I'd come so far in that 8 months already that I was dealing with it. I just wanted some more options and some more help because I was trying to do it alone. So I said, I don't really want the medication. And he was really good. He explained, like, that mental health, I forget now, but there was 4 pillars. You know, exercise was one, was really great. Support was one, medication was one, and maybe like talk a psychiatrist or something maybe was the other one. I'm not sure, but it was something like that. And I was like, I don't exercise at all. I used to play a lot of sport and had a few bad injuries, so, you know, I'd love to exercise, but I don't enjoy walking or running because I think that's really boring. And I can't play sport because I am obviously really hopeless now and have injured myself. So, you know, I'm sure I'll find something eventually that I enjoy, but I don't just walk or run for no reason.
So if we see you running, we need to fucking run too.
So the other day I was having a pretty bad day because Mark got a new job and he had to move away, and, you know, I was struggling a bit, and I rang Mum and I was like, oh, Mum, I'm not having a good day. And she goes, put Cooper in the pram, walk over here. And I was like, good idea. You know, by the time I got here I was like, all right, don't have time. Adrenaline's going, so it works a treat.
It's proven that
I was getting real anxious and stuff.
A lot of hormones, a lot of the juices into your brain. That's really good for it. So
yeah, support I obviously had, but, you know, I was still
hard to reach out still.
And he explained to me that the medication, if I took it, would just be a kind of a bridging factor to get where I wanted to be while talking to, like, a therapist or psychiatrist or something. So he's like, you know, you feel like you're down here, and if you take the medication, it will help to lift you a little bit to then talk about it and get you to that point where you want to be faster with this medication. And I was like, okay, that makes sense to me, righto. I'll try it, but he said it takes 2 weeks to even start to work, so I probably took it for 2 weeks and then stopped anyway. It just didn't sit right with me. I'm like, I was having pretty good days by then, and just, I don't know, my nursing, I was like, nah, I don't need this, I'll be right. But, like, obviously was still aware that if I was not improving myself or being able to do it, then I would definitely try the medication again. And as he did a referral to me to go and talk to someone, and the referral never made it to the person, so that kind of fell through. Like, you know, there was no follow-up or anything, and I was like, no, I'll be right, you know, I should be right. But I did want to find someone to talk to because I thought, okay, maybe they'll give me ways of how to be a little bit more resilient next time, be a bit more, cope a little bit better, or have, you know, put me in touch with other people that have been through the same thing or something. But that never happened. But also, because I had a traumatic birth, the doctors from the hospital sent a letter, I don't know, say a month or so later, to your home, and they say, do you want to come in for a meeting and talk about your birth? Which I think is absolutely fantastic, cool. But it comes at a time where you're like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I am already in that rut, and there's no way I want to talk or see anyone. I just want to be at home. You're there. You can't get up and go in and talk about it because you're like, So, yeah, I think maybe we could, like, obviously work in a hospital, so maybe I could flag that and make that a better thing, maybe, experience. But
it's good that they do that though, because
I think it's great.
It's just maybe the way that they do it, could be changed.
Yeah,
but
it's probably a bad time to do it, or if they just kind of ring every now and then, or I don't know, everyone's busy, but I don't know how we can improve that, but it is a good idea.
And the difficult thing, I guess, with that is it's a case-by-case sort of situation as well. It's not one thing is going to work for everybody.
Yeah, no one wants to go in every time they have a baby when it was fine. Yeah.
I guess what could we do? Is there something that we would be able to do or change to make the experience better? Is it an education piece? I guess prior to birth, is it? It's a difficult thing, but
I was thinking when I was reading that book, I was like, why the hell do midwives not explain this?
Yeah.
What an amazing thing to tell someone, especially your first baby or whatever, literally you pretty much have to do a birthing class. A public hospital tells you to go to one and you do it. It's pretty good, but all they explain to you is how the drugs work and what do drugs affect the baby and what don't. What pain relief do you want? That's pretty much it. How your husband can support you or partner or whatever. It would just be really nice. I was thinking when I was reading the book, this might be my opinion only, but it would just be really lovely to hear, listen, if you feel all these things during your birth, it will affect you after your birth.
Yeah.
So let's do what we can to empower you before, and let's go over things like that and how... Feel free. We want you to ask questions. We want you to know exactly what's going on, how we can help. Midwives are, they're a whole different breed. They're amazing. So, I don't know. I just think that would have been, I don't know, maybe because
pre-education probably would be the
just
best.
that thing, how,
Shut up.
pretty much how your birth will affect your birth experience will affect you after, I think. Because I think it's like saying how war... Well, I guess, is this silly? You're going to war. Something's going to happen to you. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
You might be okay, but you might not be. So, if something happens to you, these are the things that you should be prepared for in war. So, let's be prepared for them, and when you come back, let's make sure that, we're on top of things.
Yeah.
I know war is a massive thing to compare it to, but I'm just trying to think of a trauma here.
You go on a war with yourself, and that's probably, that's one of the most difficult things.
A part of this book as well was when someone goes through a motor vehicle accident. So they have this massive trauma and, they injure themselves and they're off work and they could lose their jobs depending on what they do, or, if they've got income protection or whatever they do. And then they've got all these things in place for people like that who have massive accidents where they can go, okay, here's here's how we can help you with this. This is not only physio and stuff, but you need trauma counselling and this from that. And, they are pretty good, I think, with that kind of thing where, you've had a motor vehicle accident and trauma, so they follow up and make sure that everything's okay after. So it just explains that, what happens when your birth is a trauma? They just expect that that's going to be okay, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, that's
if that makes
a very
sense.
good point, that's a very difficult thing.
And then, with trauma like yours, how do you prepare? I still don't know, how do you prepare for open heart surgery?
I don't think you ever truly can, and that's a big thing. You get as much education and information and stuff. Mine, there was when I had my surgery, they're like, oh, you might get post-traumatic stress, and that was it. That was just where it's left. I'm like, cool, sweet. And then because they were just so blasé about it, I didn't think anything of it. And, and there was a lot of changes to my body that weren't explained to me. When you crack your ribs open, all your muscles and everything.
You've got wires sitting in there. You've literally got wires across your sternum, and they were going to be in there forever. Your sternum doesn't really heal. They just use big wires and tie them up like little ziplocs.
Yeah. So, and then the tick in my chest from my mechanical valve, that's probably been one of my biggest triggers because music, the biggest thing for me was tick came out in a few days. I was out of ICU. It was a few days in, laying in the hospital bed, and I'm just like, oh my God, if I put my headphones in, I can drown out the sound. So music, huge part of my life, chuck headphones in, put sound on, and I can still hear the tick. Because it's coming inside my chest, the headphones aren't exactly drowning that out. And then that was just triggering stuff. So I'm trying to go to sleep, and now I've got a clock inside my chest that's ticking. Sounds like it's coming in the back of my head. And I'm just like, fuck, and I'm trying to go to sleep, and that fucks you up. Like, same as, like, well, not the same, but, similar to your birth, there's different things there that would be setting off your stress and your trauma and all that other sort of shit. Like, it's difficult. So, but what's probably one of the, we spoke about it before I wrote it down, you're not alone. What does that sort of mean to you with this sort of stuff now?
I guess coming from someone who is really blasé as such, like, don't get me wrong, I work in emergency, so I was like, yep, everything could happen. I'm going to be prepared for anything, because obviously I see the worst, or whatever, I expect the worst. So even though I thought that, you don't, or I don't know what you think. But I guess I had never spoken to anyone with postnatal depression, and I've at that age now where lots of my friends are having babies or they've had babies, and no one told me that it was hard. Like, they had some hard births, but no one told me they were struggling. Like, everyone, obviously this is massive, but the social media influences, obviously you just look at someone's Instagram or someone's Facebook, and just beautiful photos of their family and them and their baby and all their baby pictures. You could look at mine and think the exact same thing, that I was absolutely perfectly fine, had all these cute little baby photos and me smiling with my baby or whatever. Well, that wasn't much because I didn't want to take photos of me, but, like, you see that and you think, they're doing so well, look how good they are. No one ever told me that they were struggling, so I thought, because you are clouded in your judgment and everything that you think, and when you're at your worst, you think things that just don't make sense to you now, even when you're a little bit better. But, I guess no one had told me that they were struggling, so I thought to myself, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm alone, so I'm not going to tell anyone. There is no way that I would talk about this if I'm still in the middle of that really hard time. I wouldn't be talking to you about it. I don't know, maybe next time, if hopefully I never have a really hard time again, maybe I will, but I honestly I did not want to talk to anyone about it. There's no way. I didn't want to admit it to myself, let alone talk to other people. Like, I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's just this awful heaviness, like a massive grey cloud over your head, and it sucks, and it's really horrible, and I don't know, I just didn't know of anyone else that had been through it. I'd heard of, obviously, of postnatal depression, but also I thought, like, postnatal depression can be where you geckos just fell on the ground. Postnatal depression can be where you don't like your baby.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And it's like, I've spoken to, in the leading up to this, especially because it's been on the cards for a little while, that I've spoken to a few people. I'm like, I'm excited to come and do this sort of thing because I love getting people to share their stories. So I speak to a few people, and that was one of the things with the lady that I spoke to, and she's just like, I hated my baby. Yeah. And I'm just like, holy shit. They literally
picture themselves like, I don't know, getting rid of their baby. Yeah. Like, its thoughts are coming to their head, and like now, again, I consider myself so lucky. I don't want to compare myself again to other people and what they've been through, but I look back and go, oh my God, I'm so lucky. Like, I never once hated my baby. Like, I still loved him. I just wasn't, I felt like I wasn't maternal or something. Yeah. Like, I've never been like a girly girl anyway, but like, I would rather have a beer with the boys than, do anything else. But, I was just like, oh, just probably not maternal. But I still love my baby, and I never had weird thoughts. So, I consider myself very, very lucky about that, because there's obviously, and I've heard of obviously postnatal psychosis before, and that is horrible. And they recover, but it's horrible.
Yeah.
It must be very scary.
So you said that you were this clicked on, about 8 months in. So it's been about a year since you sort of realised, holy shit, I'm not doing okay. So how are you today, and like what are you, like how are you feeling?
Today, pretty much good. I feel myself again. I started feeling myself. Like going back to work helped. I feel like maybe I'm just a bit more independent person,
routine,
kind of thing. Having a bit of like go about me. Like, I've got a pretty. I love my job. It's a stressful job, but it's a high drive job. Like it requires a lot of me. There's literally no time to think about home. I don't think about home unless I'm on a break. Like I'm busy. So
you switch off.
I think that was really good to have distractions like that. But now today I feel good. Mark has started working away a little bit, so that triggered a little bit of anxiety and stuff that I'd probably not felt before, but I feel like it stems from all this. He first told me that he wanted to rejoin the army when Cooper was, just say, at a guess, I don't remember, 6 months old, say, I've fully was sick. I was like, absolutely not. You are not going anywhere. You can't leave me. I won't cope. Like, it was the worst time ever to ask me if he could go. And then he asked me not that long ago if he could go back. So it's like a temporary thing. And it just means a lot to him. So, and I knew I was okay when he asked me. I didn't have that feeling, and I don't know if I knew it was coming or what, but anyway, I'm lucky. And so that makes me kind of slip sometimes into a bit of anxiety or a bit of like low moods where, other things can trigger that now. Like, I guess that exists. So I am someone I consider to be, not easily, but I can slip into a low mood, or I can get anxious, or I can get, upset easier than what I would have before I had a baby. That could be, I don't know, stresses of being a mother or whatever. But I feel like I am a completely different person than I was. But I am still me. I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I still feel like myself. I am a lot different though. I look at things differently, I guess.
That's just,
But I feel good now.
Well, that's awesome. Like, and I love to hear that.
And I still feel like, though, I have a lot to learn. We
all do at the end of the day. But like, irrespective of whether you've gone through postnatal depression or, PTSD from a traumatic birth, like, in a day, you gave birth to a fucking child, like, so that's going to change your life, and you're not just looking after yourself and the child that is Mark, so you're looking after two children now, plus all your dogs and stuff like that. So that's going to change who you are as a person. It is, I think, a big thing when you first have a baby where you go, oh dear God, this thing has relied on me only. I'm breastfeeding. I can't even give him to someone to feed. It's not like a dog. You can't just sort of give it some food, bit of kibble, and get out for the weekend.
Exactly. This tiny thing that I want to keep alive is feeding off me. Like, you can't even go, oh, babe, can you just wake up to that little baby tonight because I need to sleep.
No baby wants to suck on these nipples because they're way too heavy.
He goes, I'm pretty good, I'll have a sleep because, obviously he can't. It's useless for him to wake up. So, I think I was a bit like, you're feeding and you're watching him sleep and you're like, I'll sort of kick you awake. You wanted this baby too. But so it's a very hard adjustment. It's a massive life adjustment, which I probably didn't click onto as well. That was a big thing. But now, like, Cooper's 18 months old, so he's at that little funny stage and he's a lot easier and we've got a bit of a routine going
Except
on.
For today.
Oh God, he's teething and it's like a nightmare today and for the past 6 days. At least he sleeps. He's still sleeping through the night, so I can't complain. I'm all right.
That's awesome.
But
all right. Well, I think we've sort of touched on most things that we wanted to go through. We'll give you an open microphone to see if there's anything else that you want to say, like, just shout out to the people, whatever it is. If there's one last piece, what would you...
So I don't know.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm really thankful for being able to talk about it. I was a bit nervous because I still feel like I don't understand it as much as I should or would or whatever. But so I was a bit nervous about what to say and if I was right, but that's my experience and that's what I've gone through. So I just wanted to tell, I feel like you get to this point, or you get to this point, not age, but you get to a point where you go, I just need to help someone, because it was really hard for me, and I felt like even though I had all this support in the world, that it was just me. So I feel like if I can change someone's mind when they're sitting at home going, I'm right with this little tiny baby, but I don't want to go out, what's wrong with me? You still need to go out and socialise, so there might be something going on there. But yeah, if someone can just listen and relate to a little bit, then I would, make my day.
That's awesome.
So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope it helped someone, and hope I didn't babble on too much.
This is a podcast, mate. This is literally what it's designed for. So babbling
I've never done a podcast before.
Babbling is more than welcome.
Yeah.
But that was like when you first messaged me. It was after a different podcast that I did, and you told me that you wanted to reach out. And you wanted to share your story, and the reason that you wanted to do that was so that you could, just hopefully help even one person. I think that's going to be something. I can probably attest that someone will get something out of this. Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, 6 months, 12 months time, but this will definitely help someone.
And the big thing is, initially I thought it was a weakness, like in your initial stages, and now I consider it as a big strength. I've completely turned around, and I feel like if these things can happen to you and you can recognise them and you can try and help yourself, then I feel like it's a strength. And I feel like, to battle with it every day, or to help other people and to come out in public and talk about it, I feel like it's a strength to have, to be able to do that. So what you're doing has inspired me to try and help. Everything that you're doing is amazing and really hard, and I just wanted to be part of it, because I thought, I considered it a weakness for me initially, and I feel like I learnt a big lesson, and maybe it was really hard and a hard way to do it, but I don't know. I've
been a firm believer that, unfortunately in the society that we live in, vulnerability is seen as a weakness. But I think vulnerability is 100% a strength.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we can share our vulnerabilities with others, then it's, it's definitely a strength.
Yeah, and trying to get other people to understand that haven't been through it. A big thing was trying to get Mark to understand, and I don't even know if he understands to this day, but he's trying, and he tries really hard. So, and I feel like too, probably I'm a pretty stubborn person. I feel like, you don't know, you haven't had that feeling, so you just don't know what I'm going through, but he is trying, because as a nurse I was like, I understand what depression is, but until it happens to you, and until that awful, awful feeling comes and that state of mind comes, you don't understand until it happens.
Yeah, and that's going back to what we said at the start. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Yeah. So, but that's it. Let's wrap this up.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on. That was amazing. I loved it. You did awesomely. So,
awesome.
Guys, if you have any questions, please reach out to us.
I'll answer them as best I can. Or Sam will.
We'll see what we can do. But just know that there is a lot of support out there. We might be able to start a thing I wrote down here. Something we could do as a social media group awareness, because I'm sure there's a lot of groups on Facebook for women who are going through postnatal depression.
So much support,
and that's maybe something that you could change with the midwives or something like that, is just bring that into awareness. Say, hey, there's this group that we know of. If you struggle with something, feel free to jump on and come reach out to us or something like that. So just know there is a lot of support, guys. If you ever need to reach out to us at the Samadhi Project. We're happy to help wherever we can. But once more, Danni, thank you very much for coming on. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Give me a cuddle, your buddy.
I've been sweating a bit.
Me too. So, fine. It's awesome. Guys, signing off for now. We'll catch you on the next one. And as always, much love and namaste.